Could UTSA go undefeated? Probably not, but they'll get pretty darn close. Stick around to see how and why. The UTSA Roadrunners and their head coach Jeff Traylor come into 2023 with a 30-10 record in their past 3 seasons, a 23-5 record in their past 2 seasons, and they're coming off of back-to-back Conference USA championships. They've solidified themselves among the Group of 5 elite and maybe even the Power 5 hopefuls within the next couple of decades. And all of that success, both in name and in record, should and dare I say will translate to their first season in the American Athletic Conference. They've got it all. Great coaching, elite players on both sides of the ball, and experience and leadership second to no other team out there. In this video, I will be breaking down the UTSA roster, their strengths and weaknesses, and looking at their schedule and predicting their record. My name is Kevin Redfield, and let's get right into it. The coaching staff is mostly intact from previous years, with the only 2 main components missing being co-offensive coordinators Will Stein and Matt Maddox. Stein took the offensive coordinator job at Oregon, and Maddox took a job at Purdue before deciding to leave and focus on his family. In response to the offensive exodus, Traylor looked to hire from within, as he's been known to do in the past, and chose Justin Burke as his new offensive coordinator. Burke has been on multiple Power 5 coaching staffs before coming to UTSA with Jeff Traylor in 2020. He, Traylor, and all of the other offensive assistants know the offense in and out and should keep on the same groove that they've been on in the past couple of years. On the defensive side, Jess Slope comes back to helm a defense that, on the outside, looked a bit wobbly, but at heart was very respectable. Sure, they had their troubles tackling ball carriers and were in the middle of the pack in terms of points let up, but they did put up the 21st best yards per play number with 5.55, which is impressive considering their defense saw the 4th most plays of any team in the nation. And of course, there is no coaching staff without Jeff Traylor, the man who has brought about this sudden rise through the ranks. I know everyone has said everything under the sun about Coach Traylor, but from the interviews I've seen of him and his presence on social media, all I can add is that he is a genuine soul that wants nothing but the best for UTSA and his players. Speaking of those players, let's talk about them, shall we? On offense, you can't say anything without bringing up the man himself, Frank Harris, the guy who has every UTSA accolade. Seriously, go look at the UTSA records, it's insane how much Frank Harris comes up. He's the man that carries the goals and aspirations of UTSA on his shoulders. Last year he put up 41 total touchdowns and 4,600 total yards, and with those stats, he won the Conference USA MVP and was a Davey O'Brien finalist and an Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award finalist with recent NFL draftees Deuce Vaughn, Bijan Robinson, and Max Duggan. He knows the offense, he's got the arm, he's got the legs, and when it all comes together like it did last year, the dude is pure magic.
Off the tackle, still alive, end zone, and it's caught! And it's caught! Clark!
At running back last year, there was some committee searching going on at the beginning of the year, but towards the end, freshman Kavorian Barnes ended up securing the RB1 spot in fashion. In 5 of the 10 games he played in, he rushed for over 100 yards and did so by displaying a downhill style the team had been desperately missing ever since the departure of Sincere McCormick. This year, Barnes is joined by Vanderbilt transfer Rocco Griffin, who himself led his former team in rushing yards. As of now, it looks like Barnes will be getting the brunt of the carries, but it's never bad to have a 1-2 punch in the backfield like they do now. At receiver, the 3-headed monster from years past had one of their own leave this past summer, but that doesn't mean that they won't be any less feared. Zachary Franklin's decision to leave for Ole Miss hurts, and it's hard to replace a back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver and NFL hopeful, but that just means someone will have to step up, and they have options to choose from. Joshua Cephas and DeCorian Clark are the 2 main receivers Harris will be throwing to this year, and it's not so far-fetched to think that both of them could have massive years. With Franklin gone, Cephas will likely be lined up predominantly on the outside and less in the slot, which could be a big strength as both him and Clark have sticky hands that can rip the ball out of the air whenever they get 50-50 situations. Both players have speed, route running ability, and hands capable of making it to the next level. So again, don't be surprised if on day 2 or 3, you hear their names called in late April. After those 2, the burden lies on one of 3 guys to take a hold of that slot/wide receiver 3 position. Chris Carpenter to me seems like the guy that has the most potential to step in, as he's got the most agility out of any of the players and can be dangerous in the open space, as we saw last year against Texas Southern.
Another chance here on the return. Big hole. No one will catch him. All the way to the house. Chris Carpenter.
Willie McCoy comes in as a 6'1" transfer from Kilgore College and averaged 19.5 yards per reception. And Tyke Ogle-Kellogg has always been in the shadows and could make his last year his best. And at tight end, the man himself, Oscar Cardenas, returns to bolster an already dangerous Roadrunners passing game. From legendary game-winning catch to downfield bomb receptions, Cardenas will likely be the X factor that sets UTSA apart from other pass-heavy teams with that extra dimension. The O-line comes back with most of their starters from last year and some fringe guys from last year looking to solidify themselves. Mekhi Hart and Terrell Haynes will be the senior leadership up front, and I'll be looking for center Ernesto Amarez to really prove himself this year. Last year he had to step up due to lingering O-line injuries, but now, as they say, it's his job to lose. The defense is also keeping most of their players and should be a steady force in their new conference, barring any injuries or any freak accidents. Up front, their big guys in the middle star alongside some young talent. Defensive tackle Brandon Brown has been a fan favorite for the past couple of years and looks to make this year one of his best. But at his position, he also has a ton of competition from other big guys like LSU transfer Joe Evans, NC State transfer Nick Booker Brown, and Sackman himself, Tremaine Bell. Complementing them outside is last year's defensive standout Trey Moore and his returning 8 sacks. The well-built 6'2", 250-pound redshirt sophomore will be a talent for years to come. Hopefully that raw potential we saw in spurts last year will blossom into something more. The linebacking core on the team loses 2 key starters from last year in Dadrian Taylor and Trevor Harmonson, but between Moore, returning starter Jamal Ligon, Dadrian's brother Danye, and middle linebacker Avery Morris, the core should be as good, if not better, than they were last year, as mentioned before, one of their main weaknesses being wrapping up ball carriers. And on the secondary, this is where UTSA has shown promise in the past 3 years. Former West Virginia player Nick Troy Fortune seems to have his corner spot on lock, and I suspect with all the talent coming in, they will have a rotating room until they find a great pairing. Some of the standouts include New Mexico State transfer Cyrus Dumas, 4th-year player DeJuan Griffin, and 2022 top recruit Za Frazier. And then there's the safety position and the guy that's really the big man on campus, or at least on their defense, Rashad Wisdom. Wisdom missed most of last year with an injury, but with 3 previous starting years under his belt and hopefully some fresh legs to carry the defensive weight on the field, the star-strong safety should make his last year in San Antonio one to remember. And now for the schedule. And remember when I said at the beginning of the video, could UTSA go undefeated? Probably not, but they'll get pretty darn close. Well, I just want to get it right out of the way that I think that their ceiling is 12-0. To start the season off, they face a Houston Cougars team that they took to 3 overtimes last year. In that game, UTSA went toe-to-toe with a now Big 12 team and got veteran head coach Dana Holmgren genuinely flustered. Not to also mention that the team is losing their star receiver in Tank Dell and star quarterback in Clayton Tune. And I suspect that there might be some growing pains that won't be solved week 1. After that, they have a couple of out-of-conference games that should be secure wins. Although I will mention now that what GJ Kenny has done at Incarnate Word and this offseason at Texas State is nothing short of spectacular. I know UTSA fans like to hate on Texas State, but for real, shout out to him and that program. And then the big one, they go to Neyland. Yeah, this one's a tough one and there's no getting around it. But I have seen some chatter online about this being a trap game for the Vols, especially since it's sandwiched between 2 SEC conference games. The way I see it, if the Roadrunners come in with momentum and they're firing on all cylinders, there's no reason it shouldn't be a shootout game that goes to the last possession. And then moving into conference play, they start out easy with an almost guaranteed Temple win, a slew of rebuilding teams in UAB, FAU, and ECU, and additionally a rebuilding North Texas team that could spell trouble, but only if they really have their stuff together. 2 99% guaranteed wins in Rice and UCF, and then the cap against Tulane. This is the game that every college football fanatic should have marked in red on their calendar. The two titans of the AAC duking it out at the end of the year. One coming off of an 11-2 season with a bowl win against USC, and the new kid on the block looking to ride their wave into a new conference title. Tulane bolsters impressive talent on both sides, including NFL hopefuls Tyler Grubbs and star quarterback Michael Pratt. No matter how you cut it, slice it, however you want to say it, this will be the game that makes or breaks UTSA going into championship and bowl season. So yeah, if everything goes right and UTSA plays to their capabilities and they add a hint of luck into their play, they can seriously go 12-0. They somehow start out 4-0, they go into conference play with some easy wins, and then beat Tulane at the end? Yeah, it's seriously possible. Then again, all rooms with ceilings must have floors, and I can also see the Roadrunners going 8-4. They start out the year 2-2, not on the best note, and they get a couple wins, but they do lose to Tulane and one other in-conference opponent. But even then, they could have a shot at getting into the conference championship game with a 6-2 in-conference record and 8-4 overall. But the way I see it, taking everything into account that likely will and could go wrong, I think they'll go 10-2 with losses to Tennessee and one of their new conference opponents, likely Tulane. And that is the team that many people, including Pro Football Focus themselves, think will be the new top dogs of the American Athletic Conference. They know who they are, and after this video, you and I know just how good of a football team this can be and already is. Thank y'all for watching.